born in Hiroshima, Japan. My family, my parents, 6 children, and I was number 4. Japan was in a war with America, and the thickest war, and somehow we felt the pressures that all male child that one day offered his life to Emperor Hirohito as the highest honor, to give your life as a Japanese soldier. So in this environment I was growing up, but my father was somehow he did not believe that the military force as the solution. So he always instructed us non-violence, respect all living, and he always taught us to learn to live for the benefit of others. On August 6th, I woke up from shallow sleep because we had the air raid night before. I saw the flash in the sky, pure white, almost blinded. I covered my eyes like this, but yet I saw the light, pure white, light just piercing my eyes. Then, deafening sound. I remember hearing the cicadas that morning, but even that just shut up, totally silent. Then, sometime later, I began to hear the rumbling sound coming from the distance, louder and louder and louder. Then all of a sudden, explosion took place.
And I remembered the line from the Bhagavad Gita, I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. I remembered that Sanskrit line.
Then sometime later, I do not know how long, but when my consciousness regained, I was somewhere in a pitch dark. Only thing I could smell is the heat and then smoke. I could not see anything. I rubbed my eyes and looked and looked. Just like I was totally blind. I could not see anything. Then the heat begins closer and closer and closer. Then I began to hear the scream of my classmates. They're calling the hot. They're asking their father and mother to come to rescue them. I also heard screaming the parents looking for their children. It was unrecognizable for the men and the women. I saw the man just clutching my soldiers who was carrying me. He said, "Please put me out of the misery." And the people are screaming for water. Then I saw one woman carrying a baby on her back, and she was frantically calling the name of her other children. Then as she passed by, I looked. I saw that her babies on her back was headless. The baby's head was blown off by the explosion, I'm pretty sure. But I don't think she knew it. I do not know when exactly time, but we all cry out for the water, because our throat is just burning sensation. It seems as though the God or Buddha has answered our prayers, and the sky just ripped open, and out of the dark clouds there's a rain just starting to pour. The rain was like black oil, and the size of, maybe I'm exaggerating, like marble. But somehow in the midst of all this, my father, I do not know, all I could say it's a miracle that my father somehow found me. Then finally we were able to cross the river. The river made up all the debris, human bodies. We crossed this bridge onto the other side, into the countryside. That's how we escaped Inferno on August 6, 1945.
Number one, the Army headquarters was there, which was charged with the defense of Japan in case of invasion. And all of that was being planned in the city of Hiroshima. And there were an awful lot of Army people in the city. Out of all the people, you never hear anything about it, but out of all the casualties in the city of Hiroshima, I'll bet you 20,000 of them were Army people. That was one of the big targets in Japan. But in addition to that, there were at least 100 other numbered targets in the city of Hiroshima considered worthy of destroying by aerial bombardment. And any of the alternatives would have continued the war along. Let me put it this way. The war ended August 14th, or the Japanese surrendered August 14th. I don't know when the war would have ended, or the Japanese would have surrendered if we had not dropped the bomb. But I can assure you it would not have been August the 14th. Do you know that the largest single raid of the war, in terms of the numbers of B-29s we had over Japan, was flown after Nagasaki? We had almost 1,000 B-29s over Japan that day, bombing various targets of all types. This is what Japan would have faced if we had not dropped and used the atomic bombs. I don't know what the casualties were in that raid, but I'll bet you money that they were just as large as the casualties at Hiroshima. Now, if you were living in Hiroshima or Nagasaki at that particular time, it's hard for you to accept the fact, that you were bombed in order to save other people, other places. But that basically is what happened. One of them was, you're just going to mine the territory and essentially starve the Japanese. Would you rather die by starvation or from atomic bomb? Take your choice. And the final alternative, of course, would have been an invasion.
The President of the United States is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. The Chiefs of Staff had to make the plan for the invasion of Japan without considering the atomic bomb. It was estimated that to land on Kyushu and conquer it would cost 250,000 of our youngsters to be killed and 500,000 of them to be maimed for life.
The Japanese knew where we were coming. They had fortified the beaches we were planning to land on. They had lots of land army troops. That's the one thing that the Japanese still had at that time, was a large land armies. Their Air Force was shot, their Navy was shot, but they still had large land armies. And they had concentrated them on the island of Shikoku, on the beaches where we were planning to land. It would have been a very, very rough invasion. And I don't know whether we'd have made it or not.
American public was told that there was a choice between using the atomic bomb or an invasion. That's not true. It's quite clear that there were alternatives to using the atomic bomb other than invasion, and the primary alternative was modifying unconditional surrender to guarantee the safety of the emperor. There was an interest in demonstrating this weapon to the Russians, to the Soviets, and also it had cost $2 billion, and there was a certain anxiety on the part of the Manhattan Project administrators that if it wasn't used and used successfully, they were going to have to explain it to Congress after the war.
On September 3rd, less than 4 weeks after the bombing of Hiroshima, my father succumbed to the radiation poison. He died And I realized the American dropped the bomb in Hiroshima, destroyed my family, and took my father. Then when I was 16 years old, the pressure for survival, such anger, the hatred, the desire for revenge became greater in my heart. And finally, it drove me to attempt suicide. I came to United States June of 1956. I was 18 years old, not knowing any English. I came with big dreams, big desires. Then I was rushed to the local hospital, unable to communicate my illness. Those American doctors thought my illness was not food poison, but the radiation from the exposure to Hiroshima bombing. They put me through so many different tests, and I became the guinea pig. Each time the nurse came with long needle, then I know they're gonna do spinal tap. So I defend myself. I beg them not to do it in my Japanese. So finally one day, they gave me the tranquilizer. And the next thing I knew, I was transferred to another hospital. Then I found out I was put into a mental institution in Modesto, California. That shame I felt was a greater pain than the needles. But you know, in the midst of all this, one day, the American nurse, her name Mary Fur, I became under her care. The moment she touched my hand, it was the first time I ever felt warmth with a human being. When she touched me, I felt my mother's touch. I was commissioned by Japanese professional artist in Kyoto that I should create the art piece for the global peace for the events coming up in July 25th, 2003 in Hiroshima. Then the bridge represents the time span for last 50 years or so. And we literally crossed the river over the bridge was made by human bodies. And so then this is the poem that I have written. 気がつけば鏡のごとし天満川見よる我が身の立ち姿. Suddenly realizing the river as if we were mirroring myself. The river which I crossed on August 6, 1945.
We met Takashi Tanemori through the Friends of Hibakusha. Hibakusha are the atom bomb survivors, and they have a group that supports the survivors. And we found him, and he heard our stories, and we heard his story, and both of us were compelled to work together and to create his life story as a collaborative performance piece.
Yeah, he actually asked us to do his life, and so of course we did it, and we were so honored to do it as well. He's an amazing man with a very powerful story.
We've had people walk out on the show the minute we start talking about the atrocities, or saying that, you know, from a human's point of view, here's the pain and suffering that was caused by that bomb. And, you know, we notice that there's there is still out there in America a lot of resistance. You know, it's all right. They think of, well, 200,000 Japanese women and children and elderly. It's justifiable because we won the war.
With the 9/11, we heard all the time this was like Pearl Harbor, but it wasn't like Pearl Harbor because that was a bombing of the armed bases. It was really like Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the bombing of innocent people. And people saying, well, now, we better get them back because then they'll know what it feels like. Well, most of the world knows what it feels like. It was America that hasn't known what it feels like.
To Japanese, American people, you folks are like peach. Beautiful, juicy peach. And we are able to get to know you. You are so friendly to us Japanese. And surfacely, we are able to get to know you and become friends. But did you know, after you took the bite into the peaches, and then pretty soon, what you come to? The hard pet, right? That inside the pet is who you are. It's very, very difficult to get into. But so far, we've perceived the American people are so friendly, like a peach, just able to get to know each other. On the other hand, what American people see us, may I use the analogy of the hard-boiled egg. And the boiled eggs, what happened? The outside has the shell, very difficult to crack, especially in the long end of the side you tap. What's very, very difficult to crack through it. That's how the Japanese people behave. Yes, we close ourselves. We put the walls, and you say, wow, it's very difficult to get to know Japanese. Yes, we are like eggshell. Once we break through it, then we were able to go right into the soul of the Japanese. That takes a little while. But once the white part of the peach inside the pet and the yolk part of the egg, that's where the real communication begins. 6 billion people can live peacefully if we are able to communicate with soul to soul. It's not that you have done evil things to me, so I'm going to get even with you. The retribution. That isn't to nurture the true life. For that reason, that true life will multiply to benefit the humanity. The human conflict cannot resolve by the violence, but the only way to perhaps crusade, as you were saying this, forgiveness. The forgiveness is the greatest battle that we have yet fought. But the war that we must fight. It is the war against human natures. And my own forgiveness, the discovering forgiveness, was not because of my own strength. I have to lean on somebody or something greater than I am. I was in Japan this summer, total 6 weeks. And I went back to the place where the bomb dropped. I was about 50 yards from the ground zero. I was standing by the river. And I looked at myself, reflecting in the waters. I saw myself. And I said to myself, oh, what a wonderful to know that I have been changed from the revenge to forgiveness. Right now, I'm promoting the peace by promoting the forgiveness. Now, I look at myself, reflecting the river, then all of a sudden, water changed. All of a sudden, I was taken back to the day, on August 6, 1945.
The rivers changed the black, the bloody, all the dead body floated. Then I began to hear the screaming, oh, water, water, water. Yes, I remember that morning, many people roaming from one place next, fleeing from inferno behind, claiming, asking God to give the water. Yes, God has answered that morning. God gave us the rain, the black rain. And the river has risen, and many people swept by the current. Yet they're still screaming for water, water. Then I look again, look down, then water changed. Returned to the few minutes ago that I saw myself standing clearly. Then I bend over, I scoop the waters, and I splash the skies. Go ahead, drink, whoever you are. I call my mother, mother. I call my baby sister, whose body never been discovered. I say, go ahead and drink, drink, drink. I gave the water. That experience just happened on July 24th, just summer. I think that was the final cleansing in my own heart. It is that each one of us begging for the water which gives us the life. You and I, there's thousands, millions of people today asking for water. It is you and I have the right. You and I have given the privilege, the responsibility to give life for those who are asking. I do not know how we could do it, but for my own personal experience, it's promoting forgiveness. I need to set myself free from the burdens. I need to release from myself from the pain in the past. Once I was able to do, once I was able to find the peace of myself, then I'm able to ask you to do likewise, give water to thousands, tens of millions of people who are asking for today.
Contained in everything I do, there's a love.